Good morning. This is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with this week's Conservation Report. And today I'd like to give another update on carbon and water quality credits, or Ecosystem Services. So the Stearns County SWCD is partnering with Ecosystem Services Market Consortium, or ESMC, and the Nature Conservancy on a pilot project. And the project will test and streamline the creation and sale of environmental credits from farmland for carbon, water quality, and water quantity. This project will provide financial incentives to encourage more farmers to implement practices that help improve soil health, store carbon in the soil, and reduce nutrient runoff from farm fields. This is a new concept that could bring some financial benefits to farmers who enroll and agree to adopt practices like no-till and cover crops. To be eligible, enrolled land must have newly adopted conservation practices to generate a credit, which is called additionality. So if a farmer has been no-tilling or cover cropping for several years, they would not technically be eligible to generate a credit. ESMC's program will quantify, verify, and certify the ecosystem service benefits of improved nutrient management, soil health, and edge-of-field best management practices. Soil samples for soil organic carbon, bulk density, pH, and phosphorus will be analyzed in the first year and then again after 5 years to measure actual changes. In the interim, soil quality and carbon sequestration will be measured using ESMC protocols. The overall strategy for this project or pilot is to leverage existing cost share and financial assistance funding tools to enroll farmers in the pilot to discover cost efficiencies and ensure accuracy of the ESMC platform. So for the enrollment process, you have to agree to implement a new practice on the enrolled fields, again, what we call additionality. Producers are not required to relinquish their data, their management data. Producers can phase in more acres and or practices over time, and there's no minimum or maximum acreage limit and no requirement to enroll the entire farm. During the 2022 pilot years, contracts will be annual, and then producers will have an option to enroll in a 5-year contract at market launch at the end of 2022. The Nature Conservancy has secured, it sounds like, some buyers or a company that's willing to pay for these credits, and it looks like we'll be probably making payments of $20 an acre for enrolled acres if they can generate a credit, and it's a new practice. So the current status for 2020, we had 4 farms and 4 fields, only about 116 acres, and we soil sampled those in the fall and then entered them into the ESMC platform. No credits were generated on 3 of the fields due to existing alfalfa, and it was considered no additionality because the farms were already had alfalfa in their crop rotation. Carbon and greenhouse gas credits were generated on 1 of the fields due to newly adopted no-till and cover crops on that field. In 2021, the past year, we had 2 farms and about 500 acres enrolled, and they were entered into the ESMC platform. Soil sampling should take place this spring, and we're still waiting on results if there will be any credits generated on those acres. For the upcoming 2022 crop year, Stearns County currently has about 5 farms and a little over 1,200 acres enrolled, and statewide there's about 6,000 acres enrolled. And soil sampling for those will begin in the spring or fall of 2022. So what kind of practices are considered practice change? Be things like cover crops, reducing tillage, conservation crop rotation would be adding another crop into the rotation if it's only like a corn soybean rotation, or adding a perennial, so or newly adopted land, newly enrolled land in CRP, or if you're making nutrient management changes, or edge of field practices like filter strips or grass waterways and practices like that. So as far as some of the questions that we've had over the past 2 years working with farmers on this, the practice change is difficult to estimate and quantify up front. So it's hard to determine what the end payment will be once these markets fully develop. The farmer may not want to commit to that management change every year. The agronomic benefit must have a return on investment and not just relying on this credit to help justify a change from an agronomic standpoint. Some of the advantages include increased income potential. You can stack payments with existing financial assistance or cost share. It does encourage more conservation practice adoption, which would lead to everybody benefiting from hopefully cleaner water quality and less soil erosion. Any sized farm is eligible. A few of the barriers that I've encountered working with farmers are this additionality requirement. If you're not making that practice change, you're really not eligible for the credits. And again, payment is unknown at the time of enrollment. The data entry into these platforms is quite time-consuming, and that can be a negative for the farmer, or if his crop consultant would enter that information. Some of the farm press has been, saying had things about long-term contracts, and I think that scares some farmers away. 5 or 10-year contracts. Does the payment cover the cost of the new practice adoption? And the shortage of technical expertise as well as enrollment specialists. However, we've been recruiting more ag retailers and crop co-op agronomists to help enroll more farmers into some of these kinds of practices. This is still a very new project, and it's a pilot, so we'll be learning along with the farmers that enroll. And if you have questions or are interested in enrolling, you can call our office at 320-251-7800. And again, this is Mark Lefebvre from the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District with your conservation report, and thanks for listening this morning.